morning sun beat down on Fort Benning, Georgia, turning the parade ground into a sheet of heat and dust. Sergeant Maya Torres stood at attention, her boots polished to a mirror shine, her jaw set tight. Around her, 37 soldiers waited for their names to be called. 37 chances to join the most elite unit in the Army. 37 dreams about to be tested. But when the commanding officer's eyes landed on Maya, they didn't see a soldier. They saw a problem. "Torres," Captain Hendricks called out, his voice flat and dismissive. "Step forward." Maya moved with precision, her 5'4" frame casting a small shadow on the Georgia clay. Behind her, she heard the whisper. She always heard the whisper. "No way she makes it past week 1. It came from Corporal Jake Riker, a 6-foot tower of muscle and arrogance. He'd been making comments since the day Maya arrived at the selection course. Comments about her size, her gender, her right to even be there. Captain Hendricks looked down at his clipboard, then back at Maya. His expression said everything his mouth wouldn't. Doubt, skepticism, annoyance. "You understand what you're signing up for?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Maya replied, her voice steady as stone. "This isn't the regular Army, Torres. This is special operations preparation. The failure rate is 87%. The physical standards don't change because you're a woman, sir." Maya finished for him, Hendricks' jaw tightened. "Because you're untested in this environment." Behind her, Riker snorted. Others joined in with quiet laughs. Maya didn't flinch. She'd heard worse. Growing up in a small Texas town where football was religion and girls were expected to cheer from the sidelines, she'd learned early that being underestimated was just another kind of weapon. One she could turn around and use. "I'm ready, sir," she said. Hendricks stared at her for a long moment, then waved her back in line. "We'll see." The selection course began the next morning at 4 a.m., 20 miles with a 60-pound ruck. Then weapons qualification, then land navigation through thick Georgia forest, where the humidity felt like breathing through a wet towel. Then combat drills, then more running, then more weight, then less sleep. By day 3, 5 soldiers had quit. By day 7, that number climbed to 12. Maya kept going, her legs screamed. Her shoulders bled where the ruck straps dug into skin. Her hands were raw from rope climbs and rifle drills, but she kept going. And every single day, Riker was there with his comments. "Surprised you're still here, Torres? You know you're just slowing us down, right? They're gonna cut you loose any day now. Why don't you save yourself the embarrassment?" The other candidates mostly ignored her. Not with hostility, but with indifference, which somehow felt worse. They didn't see her as a threat. They didn't see her as competition. They barely saw her at all, except for one person. Staff Sergeant Nicole Chen had been an instructor at Fort Benning for 6 years. She was former Ranger qualified, with 2 combat deployments and a reputation for being harder than coffin nails. She didn't smile. She didn't encourage. She just watched, and she watched Maya more than anyone else. On day 9, during a night navigation exercise, Maya's team got lost. Riker was the team leader, and he'd misread the map, taking them 2 miles off course into a swamp. When they finally stumbled back to the checkpoint 3 hours late, covered in mud and mosquito bites, the instructors were waiting. "Who was team leader?" Staff Sergeant Chen asked. Riker stepped forward, but before he could speak, he pointed at Maya. "She kept questioning my directions. Threw off my concentration. It was a lie." Maya had barely said a word the entire exercise. Chen's eyes shifted to Maya. That true? Maya could have defended herself, could have called Riker out. But she'd learned long ago that in the Army, some battles weren't worth fighting. Not yet. "I should have communicated better, Staff Sergeant," Maya said. Chen studied her. "You think taking blame for someone else's failure makes you a team player?" "I think getting my team back safely was the only mission that mattered, Staff Sergeant." For just a moment, something flickered in Chen's expression. Not quite approval, but recognition. "Drop and give me 50, Chen said. "Then get cleaned up." "You've got a 12-mile ruck in 4 hours, Maya dropped. She counted out 50 perfect push-ups while the rest of the team watched. Riker smirked the entire time, but Maya didn't care about Riker. She cared about finishing. By week 3, only 19 candidates remained. Maya was the only woman. The training had evolved from brutal to nearly impossible. They were running obstacle courses in full combat gear, practicing building breaches with live ammunition, doing combat medicine drills where the fake wounds looked real enough to make grown men pale, And through it all, Maya kept pace. Not always first. Not always fastest. But always there. Always finishing. Always ready for the next event. It was driving Riker insane. "I don't know who you're trying to impress," he said one night in the barracks. "But when we get to full team integration, you're gonna get someone killed. You're not strong enough. You're not fast enough. And when bullets start flying for real, you're gonna freeze." Maya was sitting on her bunk, cleaning her rifle. She didn't look up. "You scared of me, Riker?" He laughed. "Scared of you? You're 130 pounds soaking wet. Then why do you spend so much energy trying to break me?" The barracks went quiet. Other candidates pretended not to listen, but everyone was tuned in. Riker stepped closer. "Because soldiers like you get real soldiers killed. This isn't about politics or equality or whatever they're selling on the news. This is about survival. And your reliability." Maya finally looked up at him. Her dark eyes were calm, almost gentle. "Guess we'll find out." The next day, Captain Hendricks announced the final exercise. A 4-day field training event. Full simulation of a combat patrol in hostile territory. Live role players acting as enemy combatants. Blank ammunition. Smoke grenades. Casualty scenarios. Total immersion. "This is where we separate the candidates from the quitters," Hendricks said. "You'll be formed into squads of 6. You'll have a mission objective. If you fail, you're out. If you quit, you're out. If you compromise the safety of your team, you're out." He began reading off squad assignments. Maya's heart sank when she heard her name grouped with Riker and 4 others. Squad 2. Riker was named team leader. Of course he was. The squads loaded into trucks and were driven deep into the training area. Thousands of acres of forest and abandoned buildings designed to look like a war zone. They were given their mission brief. Locate and secure a high-value target in a simulated village, then extract under fire. Riker gathered the squad. "Listen up. We move fast, we move quiet. Torres, you take rear security. Stay out of the way and try not to slow us down." Maya nodded. "No arguments. Not yet." They moved into the forest as dusk settled over the trees. And that's when everything went wrong. The forest swallowed them whole. 6 soldiers moving through darkness, their night vision goggles turning the world into shades of green and gray. Maya kept her position at the rear, scanning their 6 o'clock, watching for threats that might come from behind. Her rifle felt like an extension of her arms now. 3 weeks of constant training had burned away everything soft, leaving only muscle memory and focus. Riker led them in single file, using hand signals to communicate. For all his arrogance, he was a competent soldier. He knew how to read terrain, how to keep them in cover, how to move a squad tactically, but he was also reckless. 20 minutes into the patrol, Maya noticed it. Riker was pushing the pace too hard, taking routes that were faster but more exposed. He was trying to be first, trying to complete the mission ahead of the other squads, trying to prove something. Maya keyed her radio twice, a soft click-click that meant slow down in their tactical language. Riker ignored her. They reached the edge of the simulated village just after midnight. A cluster of buildings made to look like a Middle Eastern town, complete with market stalls, narrow alleys, and hidden positions where role players waited with blank ammunition and explosive simulators. Riker held up a fist. The squad froze. He pointed to 2 soldiers. "Jenkins, Okoye, you're with me. We'll clear the main building. Martinez, set up security on that corner. Davis, watch our exit route." He glanced back at Maya. "Torres, stay here and guard the entrance. Don't let anyone in or out. It was a throwaway job. A position designed to keep her out of the real action." Maya wanted to object. Wanted to point out that splitting the squad this way violated their training. But she also knew that arguing with your team leader during a mission was a good way to fail the exercise. "Roger," she said quietly. "Riker." And the others disappeared into the village. Maya took position behind a low wall. Her rifle trained on the entrance point. The night was thick with humidity and the sound of insects. In the distance, she could hear other squads moving through the training area. Shouts, blank gunfire, the sharp bang of simulators. Then her radio crackled. "Contact. Contact front." It was Jenkins' voice, tight with adrenaline. "We've got multiple role players in the main building. We're pinned down." Maya's heart rate spiked. She wanted to move, to support her team. But her orders were clear. Hold position, more gunfire, more shouting. Then Riker's voice came through. "Martinez, Davis, collapse on our position. We need support." Maya watched as Martinez and Davis abandoned their posts and rushed toward the main building. That left Maya alone at the entrance. Something felt wrong. The instructors had designed this exercise. Staff Sergeant Chen and the others had spent weeks building scenarios designed to test judgment, not just skills. A frontal assault that pinned down half the squad? That was too obvious, too simple. Maya scanned the darkness, her instincts screaming, then she saw it. Movement in a building to her left. 3 role players in enemy uniforms moving quietly toward the squad's exit route. A flanking maneuver. If they got into position, Riker and the others would walk right into an ambush on their way out. Maya had a choice. Hold her position like she'd been ordered, and let her squad walk into a trap. Or abandon her post and engage the threat. She made her decision in half a heartbeat. Maya broke from cover and moved low and fast toward the flanking element. Her boots were silent on the dirt. Her breathing controlled. She'd done this drill 100 times, but never with her entire future riding on it. The role players were focused on reaching their ambush point. They didn't see her coming. Maya took position behind a concrete barrier and keyed her radio. "Lead, this is rear security. You have 3 enemy fighters moving to cut off your exit route. I'm engaging. Torres, I ordered you to hold position," Riker shouted back. "And I'm telling you there's an ambush waiting. Trust me or don't, but I'm stopping it." She didn't wait for permission. Maya came around the barrier with her rifle up. The blanks made a sharp crack, crack, crack as she fired. The first role player went down, a sensor on his chest lighting up red to indicate a hit. The second spun toward her, but Maya was faster. 2 round center mass. He dropped. The third role player was better trained. He rolled into cover and returned fire. Blanks snapped past Maya's head. She felt the pressure wave of a simulator grenade going off 20 feet away. The noise like a thunderclap in the narrow street. Her ears rang, but her training held. Maya flanked right, using the buildings for cover, forcing the role player to choose between watching 2 directions at once. When he shifted to track her movement, she put 3 rounds into his position. His sensor flashed red. Threat eliminated. "Exit route is clear," Maya transmitted. "Coming back to you." The radio was silent for a moment. Then Riker's voice came through, tight and angry. "Get back to your position now." Maya returned to the entrance just as Riker and the others emerged from the main building with their simulated high-value target. A role player with his hands zip-tied playing the part of an enemy commander. The mission was complete. But Riker's face was dark with rage. They extracted back to the rally point in silence. The 4-day exercise continued with more patrols, more scenarios, more tests. Maya kept her head down and did her job. But she could feel Riker's anger like heat coming off pavement. On the 3rd night, during a brief rest period, he confronted her. "You disobeyed a direct order," he said. The rest of the squad was nearby, close enough to hear. "I stopped an ambush," Maya replied evenly. "You broke position. You decided your judgment was better than mine. My judgment saved the mission." Riker stepped closer. "Your judgment could have gotten us all killed if this was real. What if there was another threat at the entrance? What if they came through the position you abandoned?" Maya met his eyes. "But they didn't, because I read the situation correctly. You got lucky." "No, I was right." The other squad members shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't just about tactics anymore. This was about something deeper, something that had been building for 3 weeks. Jenkins, one of the other soldiers, spoke up quietly. "Actually, Riker, she did call it. That flanking element would have shredded us on the way out." Riker wheeled on him. "I don't remember asking for your opinion. I'm just saying I'm team leader. Not her, me. And when this is over, the instructors are going to know that she can't follow orders." Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. He was going to write her up, going to file a negative evaluation. It didn't matter that she'd been right. It didn't matter that she'd saved the mission. In the military, perception often mattered more than truth, and Riker had the rank and the credibility. Maya had neither. The final day of the field exercise began before dawn. The squads were exhausted, running on maybe 6 hours of sleep over 4 days, carrying 60 pounds of gear through endless miles of forest and mud. Staff Sergeant Chen appeared at their rally point just as the sun broke over the trees. "Final scenario," she announced. "All remaining candidates will participate. You have one objective. Rescue a downed pilot from hostile territory and extract him to safety. The pilot is 2 miles north in a crashed aircraft. Enemy role players are actively hunting for him. You'll have air support, medical evacuation, and quick reaction forces available. But you have to call for them correctly and set the conditions. She paused, her eyes scanning the tired faces. This is the ultimate test. Leadership under pressure, decision-making under fire, team cohesion when everything is falling apart. Some of you will pass, most of you won't. Her gaze lingered on Maya for just a moment. You have 5 minutes to organize, then you move. The candidates gathered quickly. 19 soldiers now formed into 3 mixed squads. Captain Hendricks would observe and evaluate. This was it. The final test that would determine who earned a place in special operations training and who went back to the regular army. Riker immediately took charge, his voice loud and commanding. Listen up. We need to move fast and hit hard. I'll lead the main assault element. We breach, we grab the pilot, we extract. Simple and effective. Martinez raised a hand. What about reconnaissance? We don't know the enemy disposition. We don't have time for recon, Riker shot back. Speed and violence of action. That's how we win. Maya spoke up from the back. That's how we walk into a kill zone. Every head turned toward her. Riker's face flushed red. You got something to say, Torres? Maya stepped forward. The instructors wouldn't make the final scenario simple. There's going to be layers, probably a heavily defended crash site with multiple enemy positions. If we just rush in, we'll be cut down before we reach the pilot. So what's your brilliant plan? Riker's voice dripped with sarcasm. Maya pulled out her map. We split into 3 elements. One provides overwatch from high ground. One moves in from the east as a diversion. The third uses the distraction to extract the pilot from the west. We coordinate timing, use our support assets smart, and we all make it out. Several candidates nodded. It made tactical sense, but Riker shook his head. That's too complicated. Too many moving parts. In combat, simple plans work. Complex plans fall apart. Simple plans work when you have overwhelming force, Maya countered. We don't. We have to be smarter. Riker stepped toward her, his jaw clenched. I am so tired of you thinking you're smarter than everyone else. You're not a team player, Torres. You're a liability, and I'm done letting you compromise this squad. The air went electric with tension. Staff Sergeant Chen watched from 30 feet away, her expression unreadable. Maya could feel it all hanging in the balance. Everything she'd worked for. Every mile she'd run, every weight she'd carried, every doubt she'd swallowed. It came down to this moment. And then Corporal Davis spoke up. Quiet Davis, who barely said 2 words most days. I think Torres is right. Riker spun toward him. What? Her plan makes sense. We should listen. Jenkins nodded. I'm with Davis. One by one, other candidates started agreeing. Not all of them, but enough. Riker looked around, his authority crumbling. His face went from red to purple. Fine. Do it her way. But when this falls apart, when people fail because the plan was too complicated, that's on all of you. He stormed off to gather his gear. Maya found herself standing at the center of a group of soldiers, all looking at her expectantly. She'd wanted to be heard. Now they were listening, and she had no idea if her plan would actually work. Maya's hands were steady as she briefed the plan, but inside, her heart hammered against her ribs. 19 soldiers gathered around her map, their faces streaked with camouflage paint and exhaustion. The weight of their attention felt heavier than any ruck she'd carried. Team 1, that's Jenkins, Okoye, Martinez, and Chen, Maya said, pointing to the high ground on the map. You take this ridge. It overlooks the crash site from 300 meters. You're our eyes and our cover fire. If we get hit, you suppress the enemy and give us room to maneuver. Jenkins nodded, already studying the terrain. Team 2, Davis, Thompson, and Rodriguez. You're the diversion. You come in loud from the east. Make them think you're the main assault. Draw their attention and their fire. But you stay mobile. Hit and move. Don't get pinned down. Davis looked nervous but determined. How long do we need to hold their attention? 5 minutes, Maya said. Maybe less if we're fast. And Team 3? It was Riker's voice, sharp and challenging. He stood at the edge of the group, arms crossed. Maya met his eyes. Team 3 is the extraction element. We move in from the west while they're focused on Team 2. We secure the pilot, call in the medevac, and get out. We? Riker said. Who put you in charge of the extraction team? It was a fair question. Maya had no rank authority here. She was the same grade as most of them and lower than some. But before she could answer, Staff Sergeant Chen's voice cut through the tension. I did, everyone turned. Chen stood 20 feet away, her face as hard as ever. Torres has the tactical plan. She leads Team 3. Riker, you're on Team 2 with Davis. Thompson, you're team leader there. Riker's face went pale, then red. Staff Sergeant, I've been leading this squad for 4 days. And now you're going to learn to follow, Chen said flatly. In special operations, every soldier needs to be able to lead and follow. Let's see if you can do both. The silence was thick enough to choke on. Chen turned to Maya. You've got your teams. You've got your plan. Now execute. Clock's ticking. The squad split up and moved into the forest. Maya led Team 3, which included Okoye, a calm and competent soldier from Atlanta, and Patterson, a quiet marksman from Montana. They moved in a wide arc, using the terrain to mask their approach. Through her radio, Maya could hear the other teams getting into position. Team 1 set on the ridge. Jenkins transmitted. We have eyes on the crash site. Confirmed visual on the aircraft. It's in a small clearing surrounded by thick vegetation. I count 6 enemy role players in defensive positions around the perimeter. Wait, make that 8. They're well positioned. Maya's stomach tightened. 8 defenders against 19 attackers sounded manageable. But she knew the instructors. This wouldn't be that simple. Team 2 approaching from the east, Thompson's voice came through. We're 2 minutes from contact. Maya checked her watch. Her team was still 3 minutes from their position. Team 2, hold for 60 seconds. We need to get closer before you engage. Roger, holding. They moved faster, pushing through the underbrush. Sweat poured down Maya's face. Her legs burned from 4 days of constant movement, but she couldn't think about that now. She had soldiers depending on her. A mission to complete, a career hanging in the balance. Team 3 in position, Maya whispered into her radio. They'd reached a small depression in the ground about 50 meters from the west side of the crash site. Through the trees, she could see the crumpled aircraft, its tail section torn away. A role player in a flight suit sat near it, hands zip-tied, playing the part of the injured pilot. Team 2, you're cleared hot. Execute your diversion. Roger. Moving now. 10 seconds later, the forest erupted with sound. Blank ammunition crackled through the trees. Simulators went off with chest-thumping bangs. Team 2 came in fast and aggressive from the east, exactly as planned. Through the chaos, Maya could hear Davis shouting, Thompson coordinating fire. The enemy role players reacted immediately, shifting their positions to face the new threat. 6 of the 8 moved toward Team 2's position, but 2 stayed behind, watching the pilot. The instructors had anticipated a diversion. Team 1, can you suppress those 2 guards? Maya transmitted. Jenkins' voice came back calm and professional. Negative. Angle's wrong. Trees are blocking our line of sight to them. You're going to have to handle them. Maya's mind raced. She had Okoye and Patterson with her. 3 soldiers against 2 defenders. Good odds in a straight fight, but the enemy had cover and prepared positions. If Maya's team got bogged down in a firefight, the whole plan would collapse. She needed a different approach. Okoye, Patterson, listen up. New plan, I'm going to draw their attention. When they focus on me, you flank from the south and take them out. Fast and quiet, Okoye frowned. That puts you in the open. For about 10 seconds. Then you drop them and we're clear. Patterson shook his head. That's a risk. It's the mission, Maya said. Trust me, she didn't wait for more objections. Maya rose from the depression and moved deliberately toward the crash site. Her rifle at the ready but pointed down. Non-threatening. She made herself visible. The 2 guards spotted her immediately. Contact left. One of them shouted, swinging his rifle toward her. Maya dove behind a fallen log just as blanks snapped over her head. Simulators went off close enough that she felt the concussion through the ground. Her ears rang. Her pulse thundered. But Okoye and Patterson were moving. She could hear them through the undergrowth, circling wide and fast. The guards were focused on Maya, calling out her position, trying to pin her down. Then 2 quick bursts of blank fire. Both guards' sensors flashed red. Guards down. Okoye transmitted. Pilot's clear. Maya sprinted from cover toward the downed aircraft. The role player playing the pilot looked up at her with theatrical confusion, fully committed to his part. His leg was marked with fake blood indicating an injury. We're friendly, Maya said quickly. Can you walk? Negative, the pilot replied. Leg's broken. You'll have to carry me. Of course he couldn't walk. The instructors wouldn't make this easy. Maya keyed her radio. Team 1, Team 2, we have the pilot, but he's immobile. We need to carry him out. Cover our extraction. Team 2 is getting hammered, Thompson's voice came back strained. We've got multiple role players pushing our position. We're falling back, Jenkins cut in. Team 1 is engaging targets on the east side. You've got a clear route west, but you need to move now. More enemies are coming from the north. Maya looked at Okoye and Patterson. The pilot was a full-grown man at least 180. Carrying him 50 meters through forest while under fire would take all three of them. Patterson, take point. Okoye, help me with the pilot. We move fast. They lifted the pilot between them, Maya taking most of the weight on her shoulders. The role player did his best to help, but he stayed committed to the injury, keeping one leg limp. They moved. Every step was agony. The weight pressed down on Maya's shoulders, making her legs shake. Branches whipped at her face. Her boots slipped on loose soil. Behind them she could hear more gunfire. The enemy role players were closing in. Contact rear, Patterson shouted. He dropped to one knee and fired back at shapes moving through the trees. Maya and Okoye kept moving with the pilot. 25 meters, 20, 15. Then Maya's boot caught on a root and she went down hard, the pilot falling beside her. Pain shot through her ankle. For a moment everything went white. Torres, Okoye grabbed her arm. You good? Maya tested her ankle. It hurt like hell, but it held weight. I'm good. Keep moving. They lifted the pilot again. Patterson fell back with them, firing controlled bursts to keep the pursuing role players at bay. 10 meters. 5. They broke through the tree line into the extraction zone, a small clearing where the medevac helicopter would theoretically land. In reality, it was just a marked area with smoke grenades. Maya keyed her radio, her voice ragged. Medevac, this is ground team. We have the pilot at the extraction point. How copy? A new voice came through, one of the evaluators playing the helicopter pilot. Ground team, medevac is inbound. Pop smoke and mark your position. Okoye threw a smoke grenade. Green smoke billowed into the morning air. I see green smoke, the evaluator said. Medevac is 30 seconds out. Hold position and secure the LZ. Those 30 seconds felt like 30 hours. Enemy role players emerged from the trees firing blanks. Patterson and Okoye returned fire. Maya positioned herself over the pilot, shielding him with her body while trying to engage targets. A simulator went off 10 feet away, the blast wave hitting her like a physical punch. Her ears stopped working. Everything went muffled and distant. Then Jenkins' voice crackled through. We got you. Team 1 is engaging all targets around the LZ, you're clear. From the ridge, the Overwatch team poured covering fire into the tree line. The enemy role players' sensors started flashing red one by one. Medevac is touching down, the evaluator announced. Load your pilot. Maya and Okoye lifted the role player one more time and moved him to the center of the extraction zone. In a real scenario, a helicopter would be landing. Here they just had to get him to the marked spot and maintain security. They laid him down. Maya collapsed beside him, her lungs burning, her ankle throbbing, every muscle in her body screaming. All teams exercise complete. Staff Sergeant Chen's voice came through the radio. Ceasefire. Ceasefire. Consolidate at the extraction point. The gunfire stopped. The forest went quiet except for the sound of 19 exhausted soldiers breathing hard. Maya lay on her back, staring up at the Georgia sky through the trees. She'd done it. They'd done it. The mission was complete. Then she heard boots approaching. Captain Hendricks stood over her, his face unreadable. Behind him, Staff Sergeant Chen watched with her arms crossed. On your feet, Torres, Hendricks said. Maya forced herself up, ignoring the pain in her ankle. The other candidates gathered around, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat. Hendricks looked at each of them in turn, then back at Maya. That was one of the most complicated final exercises I've seen a candidate group attempt. Coordinated movements across 3 teams, multiple support elements, split-second timing. He paused. Maya's heart hammered. She couldn't read his expression. It was also, Hendricks continued, one of the most successful. You accomplished the mission with 0 casualties, good communication, and solid tactical decisions. Relief started to flood through Maya's chest. Then Hendricks turned to Riker. Corporal Riker, step forward. Riker moved out of the group, his face carefully neutral. You had an opportunity to lead the diversion element, Hendricks said. Instead, according to my observers, you undermined Corporal Thompson's leadership, questioned orders over the radio, and nearly broke your team's discipline during contact. Do you have anything to say? Riker's jaw worked. Sir, I believe there was a better tactical approach. Then you should have voiced that during the planning phase, Hendricks said coldly. Not during execution. In combat, that kind of behavior gets people killed. He let that sink in. Then Hendricks turned back to Maya. Torres, you took tactical command of this exercise. You created a plan that worked. You adjusted under fire. You completed the mission. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Hendricks stepped closer. His voice dropped so only she could hear. But you also put yourself at significant risk. Drawing fire to protect your team is heroic. It's also the kind of thing that wins medals and gets people killed. Do you understand the difference? Yes, sir, Maya said quietly. Do you? Hendricks' eyes bored into hers. Because in 72 hours we're going to announce who passed this selection course. And the question I'm asking myself about you, Torres, is whether you're brave or just reckless. Whether you're a leader or just someone who got lucky. He stepped back. All candidates, you have 1 hour to clean your gear and report to the debrief. Dismissed. The group scattered. Maya stood alone in the clearing. Chen's words echoing in her head. Brave or reckless. Leader or lucky. She didn't know the answer, and in 72 hours, she'd find out if it mattered. The next 72 hours moved like cold honey. Maya sat through debriefs where instructors dissected every decision she'd made. She endured medical checks where a doctor wrapped her swollen ankle and told her she'd been walking on a hairline fracture for the last day of the exercise. She cleaned her gear, wrote her after-action reports, and waited. The other candidates waited too, but they had each other. They gathered in small groups, replaying the mission, building bonds forged in shared exhaustion. Maya sat alone, not because they excluded her, but because something had shifted. She wasn't one of them. Not really. She was the woman who'd taken command. The one who'd either saved the mission or gotten lucky. The one who made everyone uncomfortable just by existing in a space that had never been meant for her. On the second night, Jenkins found her outside the barracks, staring at nothing. You should eat something, he said, offering her a protein bar. Maya took it but didn't open it. Thanks, Jenkins sat down beside her. He was quiet for a moment, then said, What you did out there was solid. Real solid. Hendricks doesn't think so. Hendricks is testing you. He does it to everyone. Jenkins leaned back against the wall. You know what I think? I think you scare him. Maya looked at him. I'm 5'4" and 130 pounds. I don't scare anyone. That's exactly why you scare him, Jenkins said. Because everything they said you couldn't do, you did. Everything they said would break you didn't. And now they have to decide if they're going to let you through that door, knowing that once you're through it, everything changes. He stood up, brushing dirt off his pants. For what it's worth, I'd go into combat with you. I'd trust you with my life. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. He walked away before Maya could respond. That night, she barely slept. The next morning, all 19 remaining candidates were called to the main briefing room. They filed in wearing fresh uniforms, their boots polished, their faces carefully neutral. Captain Hendricks stood at the front with Staff Sergeant Chen and 2 other senior instructors. A single sheet of paper sat on the table in front of him. The list. Maya's mouth went dry. Hendricks didn't waste time on speeches. This selection course had a 68% attrition rate. 37 started. 19 of you finished the final exercise. But finishing doesn't mean passing. He picked up the paper. When I call your name, step forward. Jenkins Marcus. Jenkins moved to the front, his face betraying nothing. Okoye. David Okoye joined him. Martinez, Sophia. One by one, Hendricks called names. 12 in total. 12 soldiers who would move on to special operations training. Riker's name was called. He stepped forward with his chin high, but Maya saw the tension in his shoulders. 12 names. Maya's wasn't among them. Her heart dropped into her stomach. She felt like she was falling from a great height with nothing to catch her. 4 weeks of pain. 4 weeks of proving herself. 4 weeks of carrying weight and swallowing doubt and pushing past every limit she thought she had. For nothing. Hendricks set down the paper. The 12 of you have demonstrated the tactical proficiency, physical capability, and mental resilience required for special operations. Congratulations. The 12 soldiers stood at attention, but several glanced back at the 7 who remained seated. 7 soldiers who'd come so far and fallen short. Maya couldn't look at anyone. She stared straight ahead, her face a mask, everything inside her crumbling. Then Hendrik spoke again. "The 7 of you who weren't called, stand up." Maya forced herself to her feet. Her legs felt like water. Hendricks walked toward them, his expression still unreadable. "You 7 completed every event. You finished the final exercise. By the standard metrics, you passed." He stopped directly in front of Maya. "But special operations isn't about standard metrics. It's about trust. It's about knowing that the person next to you will make the right call when everything is on fire, and there's no time to think." His eyes locked on hers. "So here's my question for you 7. Do you trust yourselves? Do you believe you belong here?" Nobody spoke. "Because I can tell you right now," Hendricks continued, "some people in this room think you don't. Some people think you got lucky. Some people think you're a liability." He raised his voice so the entire room could hear. "And those people are wrong." Maya's head snapped up. Hendricks stepped back, addressing all 19 candidates now. "Every single one of you passed this selection course. All 19. Because you earned it." The room erupted in chaos. Soldiers hugging, shouting, laughing with relief and disbelief. Maya stood frozen, unable to process what she'd just heard. Chen approached her, and for the first time in 4 weeks, there was something almost like a smile on her face. "You thought we were going to cut you?" Maya's voice came out hoarse. "You called 12 names. You left me for last. I left you for last because I wanted to see if you'd break, if you'd cry or make excuses or show any sign that you didn't believe you belonged here." Chen tilted her head. "You didn't, you just took it. Just like you've taken everything else." She extended her hand. "Welcome to Special Operations Training, Torres. Don't make me regret it." Maya shook her hand, still half convinced this was a dream. The celebration continued around her. Jenkins grabbed her in a bear hug. Okoye pounded her on the back. Even Martinez, who'd barely spoken to her during the entire course, gave her a respectful nod, but Riker stood apart, his face dark. As the others filed out to begin their celebration properly, Riker caught Maya's arm. "Don't think this changes anything," he said quietly. "You got through selection. Congratulations, but the real test is out there. In actual combat. When bullets are real and people are dying, that's when we'll see what you're really made of." Maya pulled her arm free. "I'm not afraid of the real test, Riker. You should be, because I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be watching. And when you fail, not if, when, I'm going to make sure everyone knows that this was a mistake." He walked away before she could respond. Chen had been standing close enough to hear. "He's going to be a problem." "I know," Maya said. "Can you handle him?" Maya watched Riker disappear through the door. "I've been handling him for 4 weeks. I can handle him for 4 more years if I have to." Chen almost smiled again. "Good, because you're going to have to." 6 months later. The desert sun turned everything into shades of brown and gold. Maya adjusted her grip on her rifle and scanned the compound below through her scope. The village of Daraman, 40 miles from the Pakistani border. A known safe house for high-value targets. "Alpha team in position." Jenkins's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Bravo team set," Okoye confirmed. Maya keyed her radio. "Charlie team ready?" "We have eyes on the compound. 2 guards visible on the north side. No movement inside. This wasn't training anymore. This was Afghanistan. This was real." 6 months of advanced training had led to this moment. Her first deployment, her first combat mission. Everything she'd worked for distilled down to the next 60 seconds. The team leader's voice came through. "All teams, you are cleared hot. Execute, execute, execute." Maya and her team moved down the hillside like shadows, fast and silent. They'd rehearsed this 100 times, but rehearsals didn't include the weight of real bullets in real magazines, or the knowledge that mistakes here didn't get you recycled through training. They got you killed. They reached the compound wall. Okoye placed the breaching charge. Maya stacked behind him with Patterson and 2 other operators. The charge blew. They flowed through the breach like water, each person moving to their assigned sector. The guards spun toward them, reaching for weapons. "Hands! Show me your hands!" Maya shouted in Pashto. 1 guard complied. The other went for his rifle. Maya didn't hesitate. 2 rounds center mass. The guard dropped. Her first kill. She'd expected to feel something. Horror, guilt, satisfaction. But there was only clarity. Only the mission. They cleared room after room. Methodical, professional. The training had become instinct. In the third room, they found him. The high-value target, a Taliban commander responsible for coordinating attacks across 3 provinces. He was reaching for a radio when Jenkins tackled him. Target secured, Jenkins transmitted. Beginning sensitive site exploitation. That's when everything went wrong. The explosion came from nowhere. A rocket-propelled grenade hit the building's 2nd floor and the entire structure shook. Ceiling tiles rained down. Someone screamed, "IED! We walked into a trap!" Okoye's voice was tight with pain. Maya's ears rang from the blast, but her training held. Casualties? Okoye is hit. So is Patterson, Jenkins shouted back. We need to move now. Through the smoke and chaos, Maya could see them. Okoye on the ground, his leg bleeding. Patterson holding his arm, his face pale. 3 other operators were pinned down by gunfire coming from buildings across the street. The Taliban had been waiting. They'd let Alpha Team walk right into a kill zone. Quick reaction force, this is Charlie Team, Maya transmitted. We have 2 casualties and are taking heavy fire. Need immediate support. The response crackled back through increasing static. Charlie Team, QRF is 10 minutes out. You need to hold your position. 10 minutes. In combat, that was an eternity. Jenkins looked at Maya. We can't stay here. This building's going to collapse. He was right. The 2nd floor was sagging. More explosions rocked the structure. The Taliban were trying to bring it down on top of them. Maya's mind raced through options. They could try to fight their way out. But carrying 2 wounded and a prisoner through streets filled with enemies was suicide. They could wait for the QRF, but they might not survive that long. Then she saw it. A drainage tunnel at the back of the compound, partially collapsed but wide enough for a person. It ran under the street, probably connecting to the irrigation system that fed the village. A way out. Jenkins, can you carry Okoye? Barely, but yes. Patterson, can you move? Patterson nodded through gritted teeth. I can move, Maya pointed to the tunnel. We extract through there. It's going to be tight and it's going to be dark, but it gets us out of the kill zone. What about the QRF? One of the other operators asked. We'll link up with them once we're clear. But we can't stay here, nobody argued. They could all feel the building dying around them. They moved to the tunnel entrance. Jenkins went first, dragging Okoye. Patterson followed. The other operators pushed the prisoner ahead of them. Maya took up the rear, covering their retreat with suppressing fire. The tunnel was worse than she'd imagined. Barely 3 feet high, filled with stagnant water and debris. They had to crawl, dragging their wounded with them. The prisoner fought against his zip ties until one of the operators convinced him with a rifle barrel to the ribs that cooperation was his only option. Behind them, Maya heard the building collapse with a thunderous roar. They crawled for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. The tunnel branched and turned. Maya navigated by instinct and luck, following the flow of water, praying it led somewhere other than a dead end. Then she saw a light ahead. They emerged in a dried riverbed half a mile from the village. Jenkins immediately got on the radio, calling for medevac for Okoye and Patterson. Maya did a quick head count. Her entire team. Both casualties. The high-value target. All accounted for. She'd gotten them out. The QRF arrived 8 minutes later along with medical helicopters. As the medics worked on Okoye and Patterson, the QRF leader approached Maya. It was Riker. He'd made it through training too, assigned to the quick reaction force for this deployment. He looked at the scene. Maya's team battered but intact. The mission successful despite the ambush. His face was a storm of emotions. You got lucky, he said finally. Maya was too tired to argue. Yeah, we did. This doesn't prove anything. You still... Riker. Maya's voice was quiet, but it cut through his words like a blade. My team is alive. The target is secured. The mission is complete. If that's luck, then I'll take luck over whatever you're selling any day of the week. She walked away, moving to check on her wounded. Jenkins caught her eye and gave her a small nod. Okoye, even through his pain, managed a thumbs up. They understood what had happened here. What it meant. 3 days later, the award ceremony was small and quiet, held in a secured area at Bagram Airfield. Captain Hendricks had flown in specifically for it. Along with Staff Sergeant Chen, Maya stood at attention, while Hendricks pinned the bronze star with valor on her uniform. For heroism in combat, for leadership under fire, for bringing her entire team home. I was wrong about you, Hendricks said quietly so only she could hear. Back at selection, I asked if you were brave or reckless. I thought those were different things. He stepped back and saluted her. Turns out sometimes they're the same thing. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. After the ceremony, as the small crowd dispersed, Chen approached her. You know what happens now, right? Chen asked. What? Now it gets harder. Now everyone expects you to be exceptional every single time. The first woman to do something always carries that weight. It's not fair, but it's true. Maya thought about that. About 4 weeks at Fort Benning. About 6 months of training. About 3 days ago in Daraman, crawling through a tunnel with her wounded team, refusing to leave anyone behind. I can carry it, Maya said. Chen smiled, a real smile this time. Yeah, I know you can. 18 months later, the memorial wall at Fort Benning held the names of soldiers who'd given everything in service to their country. Maya stood in front of it wearing her dress uniform, her chest now heavy with ribbons from 3 deployments. Behind her, a crowd had gathered. News cameras, officers, enlisted soldiers. They'd come to see her receive the Soldier's Medal for rescuing Okoye and Patterson under fire in Daraman. The story had spread through the army like wildfire. The small woman who'd carried her entire team through hell and brought them home. They'd said she'd never make it, she'd made it. They'd said she wasn't strong enough. She'd proven them wrong. They'd said women didn't belong in special operations. She'd kicked the door open, but as Maya stood there, listening to a general give a speech about courage and dedication, she wasn't thinking about proving anyone wrong. She was thinking about Jenkins, who'd trusted her plan in the final exercise, about Okoye, who'd had her back in the compound, about Patterson, who'd followed her through that tunnel without hesitation. She was thinking about her team. After the ceremony, reporters swarmed her with questions. Cameras flashed. Microphones were shoved in her face. Sergeant Torres, how does it feel to be the first woman to complete special operations selection and serve in combat? What would you say to other women who want to follow in your footsteps? Do you think you've proven that women belong in combat roles? Maya looked at the cameras, at the faces behind them, at the narrative they wanted her to fit into. She thought about what to say. Then she saw him, Riker, standing at the back of the crowd. He wasn't in uniform. He'd left the army 6 months ago after washing out of his first combat deployment, not because he wasn't capable, but because when the moment came, he'd frozen. He'd let his prejudices and his ego get in the way of the mission. Their eyes met across the crowd. He nodded once. A small gesture, maybe respect, maybe just acknowledgement. Then he turned and walked away. Maya turned back to the reporters. What I'd say is this. It's not about being first. It's not about being a woman or a man. It's about being a soldier. It's about doing the job, protecting your team, and completing the mission. That's all I've ever wanted to do. That's all any of us want to do. She paused, then added, and to anyone who thinks they can't do it because of who they are or where they came from or what other people say about them, I'd tell them what my team told me. Trust yourself. Do the work. And when the moment comes, don't hesitate. The only person who can stop you is you. The cameras kept flashing. The questions kept coming, but Maya was done talking. She had another deployment in 3 months. Another mission. Another chance to prove what she'd already proven 100 times over, that she belonged, not because she was first, but because she was ready. Epilogue. 10 years later, Lieutenant Colonel Maya Torres stood in front of a new class of candidates at Fort Benning. 112 soldiers, 38 of them women. They looked at her with a mixture of hope and fear. Some had heard the stories. Some had seen the documentaries. Some just knew her as the officer who'd kicked open a door that had been closed for generations. But Maya didn't talk about that. Instead, she told them about a tunnel in Afghanistan, about crawling through darkness with wounded teammates, about making the choice to lead when no one asked her to, about the responsibility that came with asking people to follow you into hell. Special operations isn't about being the strongest or the fastest or the first, she said. It's about being there when it matters. It's about making the right call when there's no good options. It's about bringing your people home. She paused, looking at their young faces. Some of you won't make it through selection. That's just statistics. But the ones who do, the ones who earn the right to wear this uniform, you won't earn it because of your gender or your background or anything else. You'll earn it because when the moment comes, you'll do what needs to be done. She smiled. Now let's see who you really are. The candidates fell in for their first run. Maya watched them go, these soldiers who would never have to kick down the same doors she did. They'd have their own doors, their own battles, their own moments where everyone said they couldn't, and they'd have to prove they could. But they'd do it, standing on the foundation Maya had built, one painful step at a time, one mission at a time, one team brought home at a time. They'd said she'd never make it, she'd made it, and she'd carried the future with her.